EJ Manuel, ACC Network, ACC Huddle. You guys are going on the road this year.
Yes.
Getting used to the travel life again. I remember this is now 11 years ago. You and I were just talking about this. The last time we spoke in this setting, you were a player.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, is that a defensive end or is that a quarterback sitting down next to us? But there's a lot of hype around the quarterback position in this league.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a Heisman Trophy candidate in Drake May and a lot of others who knows how things work out. We never know who the Heisman Trophy guys are going into the season. I just want to talk about that position for a second.
Yep.
Your thoughts on everything that is kind of behind Drake going into this season, because this is a machine.
Yeah, so Drake and down. I think you start with Jordan Travis at Florida State first. In my opinion, he has probably improved the most out of all the quarterbacks in this conference, just from when he first became the starter to where he is now. Going through the good and the bad. And I say the bad because as a quarterback, you have to mature. And it's not just about the physical throwing the ball and timing and calling out plays. It's also emotionally and mentally. How do you kind of keep yourself, next snap mentality? If you throw a pick, you come right back and you get a touchdown and you help your team stay in the ball game. So I feel like that's where he is now, which makes him dangerous for his team and what he has around him. After that, you look at Tyler Van Dyke in Miami. I think he's going to have a great season this year. One, because his offensive coordinator, Shannon Dawson, coming over from Houston, I think that's a huge advantage for Tyler Van Dyke. Play calling should fit his skill set. And last year, I don't think he had that. Using the run to kind of mix up some play action passes, allow Tyler to get his confidence back. And once that confidence is there, watch out, because we saw what he did in 2021.
Right.
And I think he's still that player, if not much better than that player a few years ago. Brandon Armstrong, he's reuniting with Robert Anai.
Yeah.
Phil Jurkovec with Frank Signetti. Emmett Moorhead, I've seen him walking around here. He's huge. He's a big kid. You got young Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I said that three times, right? He has a new coordinator with Riley, Coach Riley, coming over from TCU. So, and I could keep going, man. This has always really been a strong league at the quarterback position. I think it's just a matter of these teams winning, their out-of-conference games. Right. And that's where these quarterbacks will really set the stage for themselves in the platform. And even Mitch Griffiths, I was in the gym this morning doing the Peloton, which I love to do. I saw Mitch in there doing his shoulder shop and, bands and all that kind of stuff, still getting the work in, like not taking a day off. And that's what you have to do at that position, because it's not just about actually physically being ready to play. It's also about sending a message to your teammates, and they watch that stuff.
EJ Manuel from ACC Network is joining us. You look like you might be able to still play a little bit.
Probably could, man. I think the knees, I've had 3 knee surgeries since.
Have you really?
Yeah. I tore so it's funny you say that. People don't even realize I tore my meniscus the second preseason game my rookie year. We played in Minnesota, and I got surgery, and I was playing like 2.5 weeks later, which is, thinking back on it, like kind of nuts situation.
You were first-round pick. You didn't have to.
I know. You would have thought that. I know we can talk about it another time over some other drinks, but I was back playing 2.5 weeks after that. So honestly, and then I've had a few more since. So I probably could still play, but mentally, I'm here and I'm enjoying this. And in fact, the last time I was on the team was the Kansas City Chiefs. I was with them going in my 7th season, and I also took an audition with ACC Network that same off season. So I created 2 opportunities for myself and told Coach Reed, just like I'm sitting here with you, like, hey, go do TV. He's like, why? And I was like, well, I think longevity-wise is best for me and my family and the lifestyle I wanted to have at the time. It would have been nice to get that Super Bowl ring, but nonetheless, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And I feel like I'm getting better at it every time I try it.
You guys are very slick, very polished. Let me ask you a little bit specifically about Drake, because you were a college star and there's a lot of hype, and you played at a program that was expected to do great things. This is a team that could do great things if a lot of things go right, but it all starts with him. So year 1 was a big splash. I think they kind of waned a little bit at the end of the season, and his performance kind of dropped off a little bit. Not blaming him, just circumstance. Everybody's seeing you on tape and all that. So what is his mission this year? Where does he need to improve?
Well, first we have to remember that Drake was a freshman last year.
Right.
He was a redshirt freshman. He was. I know. And that's the thing. We are so consumed with expecting these young quarterbacks to be Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun.
Right.
And Jay, you know what I mean? But that's such a rarity. And that's kind of the same air that Drake is at. I mean, the season that he had last year, if he can do, I would even say a quarter of that or 3/4 of that, they're still going to win a lot of football games. I think the defense has to help him out and take some pressure off of him so he's not throwing the ball 50 times a game. Though I'm sure Coach Brown done mine. I think for him, it's a matter of just continue to trust what he sees, take care of his body, because there were a few times where you saw that youth in the sense of taking off and running, getting tossed in the air, potentially hurting himself because Carolina needs him on the field.
Yes.
And as a quarterback, I had to learn this too, and especially as an athletic quarterback in high school, you can take off and run guys over, get to the sideline, you'll bounce right up. You're young, it don't bother you too much. But in college, you got a 14-game season potentially, and your best availability is to be on the football field. So that's an area that I think for him mentally to know when to get down, when to get out of bounds, when to throw it away, and not take those unnecessary hits. But beside that, man, I just feel like we haven't even seen the best of this young man. Just the really pizzazz that he shows. He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert, similar body style. He's long, kind of guy who's about to make $55 million a year. But he really looks like him when he was at Oregon. I mean, just a big kid, kind of like real just happy-go-lucky in a way and very respectful. So I'm excited for Drake, man. I do think he's one of the premier quarterbacks, not just in this conference, but in all the country. And he'll certainly be a top 5 pick when it's time for him to go to the draft.
You also just described a young E.J. Manuel.
Thank you.
So let me ask you about, and I asked this of Dabo Sweeney earlier, and I'm just curious your thoughts. There's a perception of ACC football, and we know Florida State is coming back, right? We don't know where they are on that timeline. It was a great year last year, but last year is that, and now we have a new year. The perception of ACC football is that it ain't good. That's what the national media thinks. How does that change other than Clemson or Florida State puts themselves in the playoff?
Well, it's simple. It changes at the beginning of the season. It changes by Florida State beating LSU. It changes by North Carolina beating South Carolina. It changes by Duke and Clemson game week 1 being competitive. Right. They have a great platform. It's ABC. So you just don't want to see a blowout. Now, if Clemson goes out there and blows them out or it's vice versa, whatever, it is what it is. But I'm just, as a football player and now as an analyst covering this stuff, I understand that the competitive games get the most traction. And so if you look at other conferences in the SEC, the Big Ten, those teams aren't better than ours. Truthfully, I really don't think they are. I think it's just a matter of, in the past, our teams in the ACC will go out and play somebody in the out of conference and just will lay an egg and not play good football.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really a matter of capturing those moments. And as far as these media rights deals and money and all this kind of stuff that's been floating around there, because I do radio as well, and that's what we talk about a bunch. That will change when ACC just plays consistent good football. So you need Miami to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You need Florida State to be good. Clemson, we know, will be good. You need Carolina to be good. You need NC State to be good. You need Pitt. You need Pitt to be good. You need the blue blood big name teams in this conference to be good. Yep. And the thing is, Wake Forest has probably been the most consistent out of all the teams, but they don't get the national love that they should. I mean, we had Coach Clausen on the desk with us earlier. He probably does the best job of developing players that don't come out as 4 or 5 star guys, but they end up being NFL players when it's all said and done once they leave Wake Forest, on top of having a degree. So I think this is the best conference in college football, and I hope this year that the teams that we have, with the quarterbacks that we have, they get the respect they deserve, but they also got to earn that respect by playing good football.
Yeah, you got to win. I know everybody talked about ACC plays this great non-conference schedule. For my money, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You just go win games because people don't really care. In the grand scheme of things, they don't ask – in college football, they don't really ask who you played.
Sure.
They ask, what was your record?
Yep.
Right?
Record.
And I know you probably talk about that, but in your radio travels, let me get your thoughts before I say goodbye to you. E.J. Manuel from ACC Network and Sirius XM. The NIL game, and I know nationally there's this clamor for congressional intervention. My feeling is we don't need any rules. The players should get as much money as they can from however they can get it, and let's work. Why care? Because they're going to get it anyway.
Right.
Because they were getting money in, and I'm not trying to ask you any personal questions, unless you want to offer. But
I know where you're going.
They're getting money anyway. They were before NIL was a thing. So why are we even wasting our time and energy trying to stop it? Because the money's going to get there.
We're so like-minded in this, and I even asked a question last night at dinner. We went out, and I was thinking, like, why don't the lawyers or the Congress, whoever, just try to go in the lane of trying to help the players? Let's just figure it out.
The last bill,
you know what I mean,
that has been floated is all about helping players.
Yeah, and so I think the more that we can do that, the better for this sport, because, look, at the end of the day, we're not talking about media rights deals in the millions of dollars. We're talking about billions of dollars. So you can't tell me that these players don't deserve something. Now, I understand that these are still student athletes. They're getting a the college degrees paid for and things like that. They have a ton of support around them. But you're right. I think with NIL, with transfer portal, it is pretty wild. But I agree. I don't think there needs to necessarily be rules. I just think when it comes to tampering and all that kind of stuff, it is what it is. I do think that obviously has to stop. But to a certain extent, you can't really control that. The fact of the matter is the players do deserve something, because the thing is, all these guys won't make it to the NFL. And that's the dream of everyone. Everyone expects to be a first round, second round pick, all that kind of stuff. But if you can make some real money, 6 figures, whatever it is, while you're in college, and then try to parlay that into something else, at least it gives you a head start.
Right.
And a lot of people have to remember, too, as a college player, you don't get a chance to take an internship or go out and get a job while you're in school, because you're doing school, you're doing football. You have no time throughout the day. And so I didn't feel like it was treated any different from when I was a Florida State football player to when I went to the NFL. The only difference was I didn't have to go to class. You know what I mean? The schedule was the same.
Wait, at Florida State? I'm just kidding.
I went to class. I went to class. Trust me. Jimbo made sure we went to class. He wanted us to graduate. And my parents, too, they weren't playing around. But in all seriousness, I think the more that we can help the players, I understand that they think they're young and all that, but they're not that young. And if they are young, teach them. Help them figure it out. And we'll all figure this out so we can all enjoy the college football game. And everybody's going to make money. It's going to be fun.
I hope to talk to you during the season. I appreciate it. EJ Manuel,
yes,
ACC Network, Sirius XM, former first-round pick, and a Florida State star. And not a defensive end, quarterback, and can still play.
QB, baby. Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.